What up, movie lovers? Welcome to my review of The Walk. I just saw this movie and I'm here to give you my thoughts on it. I am Jacob Bartley, the host of the MTV Movie News Show and the co founder of Movie Talk Express, which is soon changing names to Apocalypse Movies. We're merging with our good friend Jake Berlin, so just keep that in mind when our name changes to Apocalypse Movies. Don't freak out. Me and Gio and I, we just saw The Walk, and I gotta say, I was really impressed with it. Gio's here today, but he's feeling a little under the weather, so he couldn't get on the review with me. But he enjoyed the film as well. I don't know if he enjoyed it as much as I did, but we both liked it. So, not a perfect film. It had its flaws. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. I'm gonna start with my positives. So, for those of you who don't know, The Walk is based on a true story about Philippe Petit, a French wire walker who attached a wire across the Twin Towers and actually really walked them. It was actually in 1974 when he did the walk, and I have a little back knowledge on this because I actually took a film class last semester in college, and we watched the documentary titled Man on Wire, and it really went into this story, and you got to know the real guy, Philippe Petit. So I knew a lot going into this film, and I was really excited knowing what I know because this guy really walked a wire across the Twin Towers without any safety wires, no safety net, anything. He did it illegally because they don't just let you go set a wire and do that. It's basically committing suicide. So this was all illegal, and he did it. He actually did it and survived and is alive today. So it was very interesting. I was very excited to see this film. So, a few things that I like about it. I have to start with Joseph Gordon-Levitt's performance. He was incredible. Even prior to this role, he is one of my favorite actors working today. I've followed his career ever since I was a young kid. He was in that movie 10 Things I Hate About You. He was on Third Rock from the Sun. He was in a lot of things, Angels in the Outfield. He's one of these great actors, and he directed a film called Don John last year. That was one of my favorite films of that year. And so I think it was in 2013 actually when Don John came out. So I was excited to see this guy in this role, and I gotta say, he killed it. I wasn't sure about the French accent at first, and even when the movie first started, I was like, ooh, I don't know if it's a little off, but 10 minutes into the movie, I totally forgot about it, and I believed him as this French guy, and that he was a Frenchman and had this French accent. So he knocked it out of the park. This role, I knew going into this, called for some very intense scenes of him getting really angry and really crazy over his obsession with crossing these towers, and those scenes are where I saw Joseph Gordon-Levitt shine. He committed to this role so much, and you could see it in his eyes how much he was locked into this role, and I gotta say, he was the best part of this movie, his performance and his portrayal of Philippe Petit. Also, a couple other performances stood out to me. I forgot Ben Kingsley was in this movie. I knew he was, but before the movie started, it totally went over my head. I forgot it was him, and then we meet his character Papa Rudy, who was part of like a famous wire walking family that worked in the circus, and this was basically Philippe's mentor. This is his Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is his guy, training him and teaching him how to properly walk these wires and how to do it safely. And he even tries to get Philippe to wear a safety wire when he performs the actual stunt. And as we all know, he didn't do that. He did it without any safety nets or anything. So it was really cool seeing Ben Kingsley play this mentor role. He's a great actor, and he did pretty good. He was actually really good, like Academy level good, but the problem is he wasn't in the movie enough to get a consideration for Academy nominee. In my opinion, he could still get it, but he was only in like the first 45 minutes of the movie, and the whole second half you don't even see him, but he was great. And a standout performance to me was by Charlotte Laban. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, but she plays Annie in the movie, who is basically Philippe's love interest, but also his partner in crime, his first associate, his first partner in this big stunt that they're gonna pull, and they end up having like 5 or 6 members in the crew. She was phenomenal. I thought she did a great job, and in those dramatic scenes when she had to talk to Philippe, and just she's so gorgeous. Another thing that I really enjoyed in The Walk was the humor. I was actually surprised about how much humor was in this movie. And it was very subtle humor. I like the humor that is not shoved in your face. Like, I like humor that is in the background, in little moments, in little looks, in little things that you got to look around to see. And this movie had a ton of that. Gio and I were cracking up in theaters. Like, there was a bunch of old people in there, but we were like the youngest people in the theater, but we were cracking up. It was funny, way funnier than I thought. There was a few moments. One of the crew members was afraid of heights, so when they're up there, on top of the Twin Towers, and there's a lot of comedic moments with him because of how afraid of the heights he is. And there's also there's this stoner guy in the group, and usually I hate portrayals of stoners or drug addicts when they do them too over the top in movies, but this guy was hilarious because the looks he would give, and like the things he would say when Philippe was talking crazy, or the looks he would give Philippe, or just a lot of his moments had me cracking up. So yeah, the humor was a huge plus for me. Another thing that I really appreciated is, for the most part, they stood true to the true story of what really happened. Right from the beginning, he's at the dentist when he finds the magazine that has the picture of the Twin Towers, what they're going to look like when they're finished, and that actually really happened. It's in the documentary, and I'm assuming it happened in real life if they put it in the documentary and it's in the movie. So I really appreciate, staying true as they can. I don't mind when films based on true events take liberties and change things, make things more interesting for the story, but as long as they keep those core elements of what really happened, I really appreciate that. And for the most part, The Walk did that. There is one thing that they didn't stay true to, which kind of contradicts what I just said of me being okay with them switching things, but there's one thing at the end of the movie that really bothered me, but I'll get to that in my negatives. Also, the way he treated his crew members, the people helping him, he was a douche, and I knew that from the documentary. I was expecting more of it in the film, but they did show us that he was a douche to these people because he was very narrow-minded. He only saw his vision. He wanted to complete his dream, not caring who he hurt on the way up to that, accomplishing those goals. So they did a great job of portraying that. And also, one thing I was very excited about for this movie was it had a heist film aspect to it. They had to infiltrate the Twin Towers because, like I said earlier, you can't just walk in there, walk up to the top, and start hooking wires across to the other tower. They will not allow you to do that. So Philippe and his members, they had to take multiple trips to the United States and, and scout the environment and scout the area and figure out how they're going to pull this off. And I thought the portrayal of those scenes and the montage showing it felt like a heist movie, and I really had a great time watching those scenes, and it was something that I was really looking forward to, and it was pretty good. All right, so those were the things that I really enjoyed about the film. Of course, no movie's perfect, and there were a few problems with this movie. I gotta say, to start it off, for the most part, the CGI was really good, especially at the end scene when he does the walk. But when the movie first starts, he's standing on top of the Statue of Liberty, and he's kind of narrating the story. Philippe Petit, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and he's talking to the audience, telling us his story. And two things about this. First, I didn't like that he was narrating at first. It kind of took me out of the movie. I was like, whoa, what's going on? I wasn't expecting it. But the thing that made me okay with the narrating was at the end when he's actually doing the walk, he has to explain what was going on in his mind at that time. And there's no other tool they could have used for us to know what was going on in his head, unless they did like a thing where they go into someone's head and you can hear what they're thinking. But I appreciated that the narration had a purpose, and it wasn't just to fill-in. It wasn't just fill-in time. It was so when we get to that moment when he's on the wire, you know what was going on in his head, and I actually liked that. But for half of the movie, the narration took me out of it. It was kind of like I'm watching this really cool just a heist film, and then it switched to him narrating, and it took me out of it. But at the end is when I really appreciated it and understood why it was there. But also the CGI in those scenes where he was narrating, because it would switch back to those scenes with him narrating on top of the Statue of Liberty with the Twin Towers in the background, and the CGI just did, you could tell it's fake. You could tell it's a green screen. But not at the end walk, which was phenomenal. Obviously, you would expect this, but it was the end walk was the best part of the movie. And also, earlier I said they showed how he mistreated his crew members and his friends and his girlfriend. But at the end of the movie, they kind of held back on that because, as far as I know from watching the documentary, Philippe Petit, he was already a guy with a huge ego before this. But after he completed the walk and he became a celebrity, worldwide phenomenon who can sleep with any girl he wants, who can be friends with anybody he wants, his ego went through the roof, and he kind of abandoned all his friends. He abandoned his girlfriend, and the way the movie portrayed it as, they portrayed it as a peaceful parting, like everything's all good between them. But as far as I could understand from the documentary, he was a douche to them and kind of left them in the dust after he became a celebrity, and the movie did not portray that correctly. And like I said earlier, I don't mind when movies change facts and things about the true story to make the movie better, but I felt like this was necessary in order for us to truly understand this character. They kind of made him more likable and more heroic than he really was in real life. So that's definitely a negative to me. Another negative was the pacing. There were certain parts that required fast pacing, like the montages of them, the heist part, and other parts. But I felt like the movie was moving way too fast. For me, I was able to catch up and keep up with everything because I kind of knew what was happening prior to me seeing this film. I've seen the documentary. I've read about the story. I knew a lot of it going in, so I was able to keep up with everything. But I could imagine a random audience member who knows nothing going in can get lost. And this movie was moving way too fast. Everything was moving very, very quickly. And I understand there's a lot to tell in 2 hours, but I just wish they would have found a better way to pace everything. So yeah, those were my negatives. Overall, I really enjoyed the film. It's one of the better movies I've seen all year. It's not gonna end up in my top 10. It's probably not even in my top 10 right as of now, but it is one of the better movies I've seen all year. Visually incredible, especially the last 30 minutes of the movie. Visually stunning. I saw it in 3D, and I normally do not like 3D, but I'll say that this movie is worth seeing in 3D. A couple things that happen with the 3D is when they shoot the bow and arrow to get the wire across, it looked awesome when they showed that in 3D. And then there's a point in the movie when the wire falls when they're trying to hook it up, and like it kind of falls on you when you're watching it on the screen, and it looked so cool. So normally I don't like 3D, but this movie used 3D to it. It used it to his advantage, and it was a good thing in the film. So overall, great performances, great storytelling, mostly true to the original story, other than the thing I mentioned at the end. The CGI made up for the bad CGI in the beginning. Yes, I loved this movie overall. It was really good. I wouldn't say it's great. I'll say it was really good, and I'm gonna go with an 8 out of 10. I'm gonna give The Walk an 8 out of 10. Robert Zemeckis, I thought he did a really good job at directing, other than the pacing, and this is not his best film, but it's up there. So what do you all think? I want to know what you thought of The Walk. If you've seen it, if you haven't seen it, are you gonna see it? If not, does it not appeal to you? Please let us know in the comments section. Thanks again. I'm Jacob Bartley, the host of the MTE Movie News Show, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. I would really appreciate it. We're trying to build our audience, get out there, do these things, and please let us know what we can do better. Is this video, we're just starting, trying out this video. Is the video quality good enough? Is the audio good? Please let me know. I'm not afraid of constructive criticism. We want to improve, so let us know. And Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and thank you all. See you next time.